All right. I believe we are live. Y'all know I always have my issues with my tech stuff. So come on in here. Come on in here. I'm not going to be on here long. I'm going to be on here for maybe 15 minutes. Then I got to go and get my little guy. Okay. Picking him up. But I want to be very, very informative while I'm here. So we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome. So I was doing some, okay, let me back up. I'm getting excited. This is Dr. Shanae of SP Consulting Group. I am your licensed psychotherapist through the clinical social work track, as well as an organizational development psychologist. And what we're talking about today is imposter syndrome. And the reason why we're going to talk about it is we're in this series that we've been doing. And again, I'm doing both broadcasting with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all at the same time. So one of the things that has come up in a lot of different mediums are reaching out, trying to figure out things about imposter syndrome, things about the inner critic. And usually we just talk about these things and we forget how much it actually impacts us. So today, what we're going to talk about to help us out in this series of what we're not going to do, which is definitely inspired by being Black, a woman, and a leader. All of those things. And how much the narrative is put out for us, how much we end up being in a defense mode, like as far as like we don't usually have too many of us that has the strength, has the direction, the tools, knowledge, the skills to really be the ones on the offense, guiding the narrative. And sometimes as we start this out as one of the first quick 15-minute, chats that we're going to have, we usually have more time, or I'll say this now, we'll usually have more time for question and answers and all the things on Thursdays. But on Tuesdays, it's more information. I want you guys to get the information, get the things that not too many people, really tell you about, right? There's things that come up for us. And I want to leave there also to be some time to share how you can turn this light down a little bit. You can work on these things. These are skills that you can develop. When it comes down to it, there is a big part of this series that's going to be talking about emotional intelligence, but I want there to be a buildup. When you are watching the replays, if you catch me live, you can bring your notebook, your good pen, the one that don't skip, and you can have all these things to help you really push beyond any challenges that may be actually put there or unresolved issues that are more internal. So let's get you some information here. So imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? Some of you may, encapsulate it under the umbrella of, hey, that's just when I psych my mind out. I think that I don't have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to show up in the way that is indicative of my skills. Or, in another way, some people think of it as thinking that you don't have the skills when you do, and feeling as if you're showing up as, as what I've been called once or twice before, is a pseudo intellectual, someone that has fake skills, that you don't have the receipts, you didn't do all the work. And we already know that that's not the case, because we're always working harder just from cultural expectations, from years and years of survival, being in survival mode, being in that place where we feel like we just have to keep going and keep going. And I am definitely one of those that's a recovering perfectionist. I'm one of those that has spent so much time trying to really wrap my head around what is it that I'm doing? How am I showing up? Do I need to do more? Like, what is that? And there's this gap in the facts. That's ultimately what it is. It's a gap in the facts. And why do we have this gap? We usually have this gap because of situations that have come up in our lives, people that have said things to us, that have insinuated things, that have left out those words of affirmation, for example, to commend us for the work that we've done. So to be really, really transparent on information wise, imposter syndrome, technically by definition, is your persistent inability. Okay. And this is persistent. And I know that if you've experienced this, you understand how persistent it is, but it is this persistent inability to believe that your success is deserved or that you legitimately achieved it. Like I said, you're working hard and you don't acknowledge, believe, feel within you that you have achieved these things, that you have gotten the role or earned the role that you have in your position of leadership. Even as a business owner, imposter syndrome may come up. Even if you were able to get the courage and say, you know what, I was able to pull together all of my faculties and all of my experiences, all of my trainings, education, everything to achieve this level of leadership. But there's still, again, this persistent inability to believe that it's legit. Okay. And that it has been legitimately achieved as a result of your efforts and skills. Why is it important for us to know what it is to experience imposter syndrome? Well, a way that you understand something helps you address it head on. And what we're not going to do is sit here and pretend that that's not something that's going on in our head. Like, I have experienced imposter syndrome. Still, I still go through this daily exercise of, yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, I have my own business. I've been running my business by myself, by my merits, with the help of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, by the strength that I have been endowed. It is not something that is illegitimate. It has been me and God. It has been my knowledge, skills, and abilities that has been imparted to me, ideas, creativity, even when things are rough, which is why one of my big things for my New Year's intentions is to show up more, share my story, let people know that maybe the quiet isn't just quiet. Maybe the quiet is your perspective, but ultimately there's this inner critic. Why do we have imposter syndrome? What causes it? It is a result of multiple factors. It's the result of, say, personality traits. I say that I'm a recovering perfectionist. Like, I always have to have things like so. And I know from doing my own work on myself that level of perfectionism was a way for me to be able to find safety when things were traumatic, to find if I move things a certain way or things had to be a certain way, then I'm safe, then I'm okay. So that's just one thing. Okay, you can have that personality trait of being a perfectionist. Like I said, I like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist. Hence why I didn't even, sometimes I do things on purpose. Like, I purposely get on here real quick and I'm like pushing myself to be more confident showing up, whether I have my full face done and the makeup or not, right? Be real, be honest, show up as who you are, step outside of that. But it could be family background. Like I said, cultural pressures, don't just come from your race. Cultural pressures could come from the family pressures of achievement. I know that it has been both a blessing and a struggle to do things with I don't know, with more bravery. Do things from a place of assuring myself that even if it's not perfect, it's done. Right? Like, I have been under coaches where it's like, done is better. I have delayed writing. If you guys have been following me, I've been writing more. I've been publishing more. I'm even now an international best-selling author. It's like, how do we get there to break outside of imposter syndrome and outside of this thought that what you have, what you've achieved, the character that has come from the wiles of life are legitimate. And I say this, that if you were to get a grip, okay, you get a grip of how imposter syndrome is creating a stopgap, creating a stuck point in your performance at work, at home, in your impact, because you are trying to be perfect. You are trying to deal with this feeling that it isn't right. And who am I to say? I've said that to myself a lot of times. And sometimes I have to catch myself when that comes back up, right? But I've been doing some work and I sent it off for this magazine, to be continued, we shall see, where the question was about this inner critic. Well, what is the inner critic? The inner critic is basically like this very strategically aligned inner voice that judges you, criticizes you, demeans you. It's self-criticism. And it requires objective touch points. As I like to say, sometimes doing a fact check. How can we get past these thoughts, this level of I want to say there's a it's a phenomenon, because I don't want to necessarily give it too much credit, but it's basically a culmination of all things spiritual. Okay. Regardless of what they tell you, that inner critic, it may not be you. Okay. Negative forces that are making you believe something that is false, right? Again, how are you getting a hold of that? So I have like 2 more minutes, and this is what I'm going to tell you about this inner critic. There are hundreds of different types of inner critic that have been identified by the body of research in the realm of psychology, as far as reference to a sub-personality that judges and demeans a person. How some people like to say, well, then there's the angel and then the devil on the shoulder. Perfectionism is one. Inner control, a taskmaster, a destroyer, a guilt tripper, the molder, the underminer. These are different types. And you don't have to really dig into this, but what we're not going to do is accept ignorance, okay? Ignorance to what can help transform us. And that is, first of all, get this information, okay? Get this information and know what imposter syndrome and how this inner critic, like I said, this sub-personality, this negative judge, this negative critic, this inner voice that demeans you and makes you feel little, can all come from a culmination of things also that you've been told. The way that people have treated you, that sent a message to the innermost parts of self-efficacy, and it's like I'm getting a little deeper there on these layers. But the point of it is check out and do a self-check on where imposter syndrome shows up in your business, when you're having meetings, when you're giving presentations, when you're writing, when you're doing research, when you're presenting on the research. Some people, it's not necessarily as simple as a lack of confidence. Sometimes it could actually be just you being weighed down with this series of unfortunate events running through your head that lead you down this rabbit hole. Okay. So I'm going to get off here. I just wanted to share this with you. Today, we just wanted to give you some information. The information is on what is imposter syndrome, how does it play out in your life, and what role does your inner critic play in fueling this imposter syndrome? Something to think about, something for you to research, something for you to look into. And we're going to be back on Thursday. We're going to spend this week trying to help you get inspired, to get educated, to be empowered, so that you can start working your own transformation there. Okay. So we'll be back. We will be back. And just set up your reminders. Just so you know, running across the screen at the bottom, this is my last little tidbit. We're done for our conversation for the moment. But when it's all said and done, sometimes you're like, I don't know where to start. I'm experiencing this overwhelm and I keep going in this circle where I am dealing with imposter syndrome. I do have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, but something keeps holding me back. Maybe it is something going on that stems from your childhood. Maybe it's something that stems just from your early adulthood, your work experience and your first job, something a teacher or a professor said to you in college and undergrad. You're a leader at this point. The way that people treat you, you're in this role. You don't know why you don't get the respect and the credit. Don't let it feed your inner critic and how you live out life with imposter syndrome. Don't do that. But we are doing pre-screenings. And just so you know, while this program that we're doing, the Phoenix Rise, which stands for, rising, inspired, stronger, and empowered, we are looking at raising women leaders across the world, internationally speaking, locally, bi-coastally, and this is your opportunity. For Martin Luther King Day, Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day yesterday, I had announced that we are going to start pre-screening and scheduling of calls today. So you have between today, anytime, be in my direct message, email us. You can set up your consultation actually on my website, and that's at www.officialspcg.com. And on that website, you go to consultation, and whichever consultation you get, that will automatically secure the special rate. Okay, because we're talking about a program that is actually worth, as far as value, what work was put into it, what tools was put in it, more than what we're charging. Absolutely more than what we're charging. I'm going to be posting the actual rates. I had forgot to put it on the current post, but in that you will find that we already have a few people signed up, and what we're doing is just taking a few people on this journey, just a few. I can only see but so many because, again, as I said, I'm a therapist as well as an executive wellness coach. And this program is for executive wellness. And you just so happen to get the benefits of the tools, the strategies that I know help with transformation, that helps with mental health transformation. And I'm not saying mental health in the sense of everybody's going to get psychotherapy. It's totally separate. We're talking about some coaching that's going to help you look at mind, body, and spirit. And so make sure you lock in your consultation before the 31st. So go ahead, go on that site, All of my availability is there. Go on the website or even send me a DM and I can forward it to you there. But these rates are ridiculous, y'all. There are people charging folks $5,000, $6,000 for little to nothing that they get. I want you guys to hear directly whether or not you are even a good fit. This is not for everybody. Like I said, I have a couple of people that already signed up. We only have a few more people left before we close it out for the year. I only do this usually at the end of the year, but then fast forward, this is the deal that usually comes off from the following year. And I was sick, so I didn't get to post it like I wanted to. So this is going to run to the end of this month, the end of the 31st, end of this month, which is Monday the 31st. That's what I'm meaning to say. But get in now. Like I said, there is no pressure. It has to be a good match, but I am really on a mission to help my fellow Black women who are in leadership, who are really having a hard time getting to that next space. And it may be a lot of things that you haven't dealt with that are bringing things up. So that is it for today. Check yourself, do yourself a favor, check for all areas where imposter syndrome is coming up. And what is the dialogue? What is the story that the inner critic is telling you that actually isn't a fact? It's just what someone may have said. It's how someone made you feel. How this thought just came out of nowhere and it made you freeze. That's not what we're doing. We are pushing beyond and recreating the narrative that we want as it pertains to women in leadership that look like me. Women in leadership that have the knowledge, the skills, and abilities, but have all of these other cultural norms and mores and all of this that prevents you from showing up in the way that you want to show up and having the impact that you can have. It's there. It's just being clouded by imposter syndrome and that inner critic. So you guys take care. I will see you guys on Thursday with more information as it pertains to preparing yourself to change the story. Because like this series is named, what we're not going to do is allow the story to run without our input. And we're coming from a place of truly who we are in these moments, beyond the noise, beyond that inner critic, beyond that imposter syndrome. So I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.